lower taxes on essential household items such as flour, curd and detergent, making daily necessities more affordable. Both PM Modi and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman have vowed to make compliance far more easier in the coming days. A report, meanwhile, on Bharat's manufacturing hub for electronics components and sub-assemblies by the CII has projected an increase in demand for electronic components and sub-assemblies in India by 2030. And as per the report, the demand for components and sub-assemblies in 2023 stood at $45.5 billion to support the electronics production worth $102 billion, which is expected to scale up to $240 billion by 2030 to support electronics production worth $500 billion now. Meanwhile, recalling his meeting with External Affairs Minister Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar during his recent visit to the island nation, Sri Lanka President Ranil Wickremesinghe thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and S. Jaishankar for their support to Sri Lanka. Several houses under the Indian housing project in Kandy, Nuwara and Matale, benefiting the Indian origin Tamil community, have been inaugurated. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, Parliament is on the 18th Lok Sabha, first session of Parliament on a day when the MPs were being sworn in. Both sides talked about the Constitution. Both sides reminded each other about the fact that you are going to change, alter or amend the Constitution. Is there a difference, ladies and gentlemen, between amending it, altering it, changing the Constitution altogether? More importantly, is it for Bharat or for their own personal interests? That's the other question. Who's done it more? Whose intent is it? This entire Samvidhan badal denge bogi? Who's actually guilty? Let's debate.
पच्चीस जून को भारत के लोकतंत्र में जो काला धब्बा लगा था, उसके 50 वर्ष हो रहे हैं। भारत की नई पीढ़ी इस बात को कभी नहीं भूलेगी कि भारत के संविधान को पूरी तरह नकार दिया गया था। लोग सब्सटेंस चाहते हैं, स्लोगन नहीं चाहते।
जो आक्रमण प्रधानमंत्री जी अमित शाह जी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर, संविधान पे कर रहे हैं, वो हमारे लिए एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है, वो हम होने नहीं देंगे।
Without declaring emergency, you are doing it.
जो जनता से जुड़े हुए विषय जरूर उठाने चाहिए, बट जो भ्रमित करने वाली बातें, जैसे चुनाव में भी जिस तरीके से विपक्ष ने संविधान आरक्षण को लेकर मुद्दा बनाने का प्रयास किया, ये गलत है।
Did Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ever go 400 par, ladies and gentlemen? But how many times under his government, when he was 3 times Prime Minister, was the Constitution changed, amended, altered? Each have a different meaning. 16 times. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, did she ever go 400 par, ladies and gentlemen? 31 times the Constitution had been changed. Even the preamble under her had been altered, ladies and gentlemen. The whole DNA of our Constitution was altered under her rule. 11 times under Rajiv Gandhi, he went 400 par once. But 11 times under him too, the Constitution was amended, altered, changed. 6 times during the UPA under Manmohan Singh, Sonia Gandhi, Constitution altered, amended, changed. Open to interpretation, subject to interpretation. But what is the Constitution that Mr. Rahul Gandhi was carrying today along with the opposition? Does it even reflect and look anywhere close to how our founding fathers had envisaged this? This is how our founding fathers wrote the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the pictures of our Constitution is. This is how it's supposed to be. This is the original preamble of the Constitution of India. Do you see the word secular and socialist? No. You see us as a sovereign democratic republic. So who altered it? Who changed the DNA of the Constitution? It happened during the time of the emergency. Who called the emergency on the 25th of June in 1975? So these are questions that have to be answered. And those very people are blaming who of changing the Constitution? This is how our Constitution looked. There were pictures, beautifully written, flowing calligraphy. Each page, representation of our culture. From Ram to Krishna to Hanuman to Buddha to Akbar. Everybody was represented here. Where did those pictures go? Who altered that? Who did away with that, ladies and gentlemen? There was no BJP at that time. There was no Narendra Modi at that time. So who are these people who are standing there and saying कि ये लोग संविधान बदल देंगे? Can they actually claim that? Or are they just trying to brazenly commit an act of revisionism to make people forget what this Samvidhan actually means, who actually changed this Samvidhan, and gloss over the fact that out of the 106 times that the Samvidhan has been changed, altered, amended till date, ladies and gentlemen, nearly 90 odd times had been done even before 2014. So who are these people who are pushing this continuously? Samvidhan badal denge bogi. And on what grounds? What was Samvidhan? What was changed? What was altered? What was amended in the interest? And who has always done it for Bharat, the greater cause for Bharat? The Constitution has to evolve. The Constitution has to change, ladies and gentlemen. Because our nation is also evolving. Our nation is progressing. The Constitution has to cater to the needs of a changing, evolving, growing Bharat. Yes. But should we alter the DNA of the Constitution itself? Those who altered the DNA, sanctified it, ratified it, and today try to corrupt it and revise it in that act of revisionism, can they actually claim to be holier than thou? That's the question when this entire debate has been triggered by the Prime Minister reminding us 25th of June, the year of emergency, and the opposition walking with the Constitution in their hand. But when they were in power, what did they do? Did they cover themselves in glory? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look at this history. First constitutional amendment bill in 1951 was introduced by then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in the Lok Sabha. The amendment curtailed the freedom of speech and expression, a fundamental right under Article 19.1A. The bill added reasonable before restrictions and included public order, friendly relations with foreign states, security of the state, and incitement to an offence as new restrictions. It also took away the power of the federal states to object to a central resolution. That was done by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Article 35A stems from Article 370, which was introduced via presidential order in 1954. It, however, does not appear in the main body of the Constitution, but in Appendix 1. The Nehru government did not present it to Parliament for discussion. Remember, Article 35A granted special rights to Jammu and Kashmir's permanent residents and prohibited outsiders from buying property, settling permanently, or accessing the state scholarships in Jammu and Kashmir. It also denied, since 1957, all the Valmikis, the Safai Karamcharis who stayed there, their children studied hard. They became IAS, they cleared IAS exams, UPSC exams, they got into IITs, they became scientists, engineers, doctors, etc. But when they were in Jammu and Kashmir, they could only be employed as Safai Karamchari. This was done to our Constitution. 25th of June 1975, Indira Gandhi claimed a national emergency that's been termed the darkest day of Indian democracy. During this, the opposition leaders were arrested, elections postponed, anti-government protests were crushed, and press censored. Some laws were even rewritten to suit the government, and when the act of ratifying, changing, altering the preamble, it was passed in Parliament, the entire opposition in the upper house was in jail, ladies and gentlemen. President's rule and state government dismissals. Article 356 allows president rule if a state government can't be run per constitutional provisions. Congress governments have used Article 356 about 90 times, 90, in the last 70 odd years to dismiss state governments. The 16 states that ratified the changing of the preamble in 1975, all of them Congress ruled states. Shahbano Judgment 1985, landmark India's constitutional history. 23rd April 1985, Supreme Court ordered Shahbano's ex-husband to pay maintenance under Section 125 of CRPC. Rajiv Gandhi-led Congress government passed the Muslim Women's Protection of Rights on Divorce Act. 1986, nullifying the Supreme Court's order, countermanding the Supreme Court, and taking away the basic rights of 50% of this nation's population, women. Rights of Muslim women taken away, women's rights taken away if they were in a divorce case with a man. The right to alimony taken away. And they were the ones going out and saying, "Inko 400 par aa gaya to संविधान बदल देंगे." That's the lot, that's the party, and that's led by that group that sat there and ratified it back in history, coming out and saying, "Abhi to we have not even called an emergency, it's an uncalled emergency." Sardar R.P. Singh, national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, political analyst, Nilafur Masood, national conference with us, Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate with us. This whole Samvidhan bogi, Sardar R.P. Singh, why is it that you are not able to counter it? Why is it that the opposition continues to look at you and say, "अरे ये power में आया, ये संविधान बदलने वाले हैं, ये सरकार में संविधान बदलने वाले हैं"? किस लिए संविधान बदलने वाले हैं?
आनंद, हिंदी में कहावत है, काट की हांडी एक बार चढ़ती बार बार नहीं चढ़ती. They were successful. They were able to build up that narrative in this election. They won't be able to do it again. And in coming future, they'll be more exposed when they do this. What was today opposition doing, especially led by Rahul Gandhi, carrying a copy of a abridged copy of a constitution and then saying that, "Oh, संविधान खतरे में है." Now, you just now told how many times the constitution has been changed and who, under whose period the constitution was under threat. I'm very hopeful that tomorrow you are showing the right copy of the constitution. Tomorrow, this copy of the constitution, the Rahul Gandhi and the leaders of opposition will also carry, and also remind people of 25th June 1975 and 3rd January 1977, when finally the constitution was amended and even the preamble, the basic preamble of the constitution was altered. Although there was no need, but yes, they did it. And they are the people who are always gone against the will of the constitution. When they sack the government in the states 90 times, more than 90 times they have sacked the government in the opposition states, they are going against the basic will of the constitution. But that's how the Congress is. I mean, they try to create a bogey. We accept they were successful in creating that bogey. But again, I reiterate, काट की हांडी एक बार चढ़ती है, दोबारा नहीं चढ़ेगी.
पर वो काट की हांडी चढ़नी नहीं चाहिए थी ना सर. That's where you are at fault. You are at fault because you amended the constitution in the interest you abrogated 370. Is that a fault? Are you guilty of doing the right thing?
Now,
or are you unable to go back and tell them
370.
what you did? Are you unable to go back and convince the people of your actions? Did you actually need to be 400 par, 2/3 bahumat to change the constitution altogether? If you really wanted to.
No one need to be 400 par. No one need to be 400 par, and no one can change the constitution, the basic ethos of the constitution of the country. Prime Minister rightly said even Bhimrao Ambedkar ji also wants to change the constitution of the basic ethos of the constitution. They can't change it now after the ratification which was done in 1977 in the parliament. So it's not possible. But the fact is, yes, they are still into that mode of election mode, and then he's still trying to continue that. Wait for the time, they'll be more exposed. As I said, earlier they used to do jantar mantar in the parliament by standing on the desk, by throwing the pamphlet or by throwing the bills at the face of the chairperson of the or the speaker of the parliament. Now they are trying to bring Shri Ram theatre to the parliament. I mean, they are trying to do theatric, which doesn't hold. I mean, parliament is there for a serious issues, subjects, debate, and when it comes to serious issues and subjects in debate, they walk out. They create ruckus. We'll appreciate, as the opposition, I'll appreciate and request to them also that please use this opportunity to pick up issues, to corner the government, to seek answers from the government on subjects which are of the people interest, not trying to build up a false bogey and try to build up your narrative around that.
Sanjay Jha, what is this whole Samvidhan Badal Denge thing all about? Why is the opposition saying the government with 293 NDA coalition is going to change the constitution? What are they going to do? What is this bogey?
Okay, Anand, in the interest of a fair debate, I would not appreciate any interruption because you spoke for literally 10 minutes in defense of the government, which I think is unprecedented and also tells me why Mr. Modi's government is extremely nervous and needs the big media to back them, which unfortunately will boomerang as the results of the elections establish. Now, here are some key core points that I wish to make. Point number one, you talked about the founding fathers. The founding fathers include Dr. Ambedkar and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And we all know how the BJP's policies have really affected the Dalits in the country, who have voted against them in the 2024 elections, which proves that they have been insulting the founding fathers. As far as Pandit Nehru is concerned, and there are many others, by the way, who are part of the entire constitutional construction in our country, we all know how Mr. Modi personally mocks Pandit Nehru whenever he wishes to. So when we talk founding fathers, let's ask the BJP, where were your contributions during India's freedom struggle? And I'll tell you what is the reality of that current problem. Because they have nothing to do with the birth of this great nation. They have no struggle, sweat, blood, toil and tears to make India an independent nation against the British, whom, by the way, they supported. They are not able to comprehend the whole quintessential beauty of India's constitution. Point number one. Point number two, and very quickly, this party does not respect the Indian constitution. And this is the truth. Why have we seen India's rankings, not just worldwide, but within the country? People are scared of expressing what they feel. The freedom of expression, the attacks on NGOs, think tanks, authors, intellectuals, film industry, opposition parties, the destruction of institutions, the use of the washing machine to terrorize people, the complete criminality in electoral bonds. They establish a political party that is at core authoritarian and, in my opinion, has become hardcore fascist. Point number three, and then I'll wrap up. What India is seeing, Anand, is 120 months of unofficial, undeclared emergency. To the credit of Mrs. Gandhi, although she lost the elections, I think deservedly, didn't deserve to win the election after the emergency. We say so publicly ourselves. At least it was officially declared and lasted 21 months. What India is seeing is a stealthy, surreptitious, sneaky form of dictatorship. And everyone who is in the opposition knows it. Two panelists on your program who will support the government will obviously not agree with me. And therefore, my last point. This is a government, Anand, you know it, let's not even try and pretend, where you have senior leaders, not the fringe, who say drop secularism, drop socialism, because according to them, that is not part of India's DNA. I'll tell you why that is a problem with the BJP. BJP sees the word republic, my last line, BJP sees the word republic in a preamble as probably just a TV channel.
Well, now, since you made certain allegations against me, I do not, and I disagree with you that I was batting for anyone. I was stating hard facts, sir. I was stating facts that how things happened. I have a copy of the original constitution which I showed to the viewer. The preamble of the original constitution, after the discussions in the Constituent Assembly debates, rejected the words socialist and secular and said no. And nobody but Babasaheb Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar rejected the word socialist, secular. And he said no. Bharat has been broken, has been torn in the name of religion, where Muslims rejected staying with Hindus and said, we cannot live with Hindus. And that's exactly what Jinnah said when he demanded partition. And because this country was torn on the grounds of religion, there was nothing secular in the formation of Bharat and Pakistan. The other aspect, sir, the Prime Minister of our country, the first Prime Minister was a Pandit. The first education minister is a Maulana. So basically, secular should get tossed out of the window because we are not secular even in our government formation in the choice of our leaders. Because we had a Pandit and a Maulana as part of government. Please, sir. So the other thing is, I'm not batting for anybody, I'm stating facts. Those who claim Samvidhan will be altered and talk about founding fathers, sir, Babasaheb Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar was against Article 370. Nehru circumvented him, bypassed him, got Gopal Swami Iyengar to draft the Jammu and Kashmir constitution, which was not even ratified by Parliament, sir. It was an agreement which was between Jawaharlal Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah, which was not ratified by Parliament.
Anand,
Did not have the sanction. Did not have the sanction of Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. This is fact. I am not batting for anybody. So who altered the DNA of Bharat in 1977 when the country was in emergency and nation was in opposition was in jail, sir? It was Indira Gandhi who did it. Why alter the preamble when the founding fathers had rejected the word socialist and secular? Is a question that the Congress party still has not been able to answer. Those who say we should revert to the original constitution are actually going back to what Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar himself wrote in his own book. He has himself mentioned this, and these are arguments which are chronicled in the archives of the Constituent Assembly debates, and you can also peruse them. But
can I respond to you quickly?
Ji.
Yeah. Anand, let me tell you, the people of India have spoken. So let me just tell you this. For any panelist, including you, there is no need to froth at the mouth. The people of India were
nobody's frothing at the mouth, Sanjay
that
Jaji.
India's
but if you are peddling, if you are peddling,
can I finish?
If you are making I am going to respectfully say, please do not be economical with the truth. And
No,
I am
so
only stating facts.
You hold the platform. I'm your guest. Let me finish.
Please.
Here is my point.
No, but when you make a personal insinuation at me, I have the right to defend myself, and I'm defending myself with facts, sir. Now you're shifting the goalposts. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. No, you can do that, Anand. But as a guest and as somebody who
please, I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you then. I had to clarify now. That's why I did. Please complete.
Yeah. So here is the truth, Anand. The truth is that you have a political party that has stifled dissent. Okay, let's look at just that one element. All right? Will you deny the targeting of the opposition where 95% of the cases were against them? Will you deny that the hounding of the chief ministers who were in jail during the time of the election was democracy and respect for the constitution? Will you deny that the prime minister of this country mocked and attacked Muslims brazenly during the election campaign? You have the audacity and the temerity to come on this program just because you're an anchor and say that Mr. Modi is not above being questioned. India's prime minister was attacking Muslims.
Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth. Secondly, sir, please do not make insinuations and try and add agenda where there is none. Thirdly, sir, the Shah Bano amendment was a brazen slap on the face of Muslim women that was done in 1985 by the Rajiv Gandhi government, which is again open brazen appeasement. I'm not defending anybody. This is what happened. Let's not forget. And sir, you're talking about controlling freedom, controlling rights and restriction. In Delhi, the government's attempt to censor the organizer and RSS newspaper had been countermanded by the courts of the country. In Bombay, government's order banning Crossroads, a left-leaning weekly critical of Nehru and the Congress government, had been quashed again by the courts. By early 1951, with elections looming in the near future, Nehru grew increasingly exasperated. It is impossible to hang up urgent social changes because the constitution comes in the way, he wrote to his ministers. We have to find a remedy, and even though this might involve a change in the constitution, again, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru saying a wider social policy had to be determined by the government and neither the courts nor the constitution should be allowed to stand in the way. This is what Tripudharman Singh writes in his book about Pandit Nehru, 16 Stormy Days, the story of the first amendment to the Constitution of India, and what the bill proposed, and after which the strongest voice to stand up against this entire move by the Congress party led by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was Shama Prasad Mukherjee, who was then affiliated with the Hindu Mahasabha. It had nothing to do with the Jansangh or the BJP then. The amendment he charged was cutting at the very root of the fundamental principles of the Constitution. He called it the beginning of the encroachment of the liberty of free India. This is against Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and the person saying it is Shama Prasad Mukherjee. Sir, I am quoting history as it is being chronicled, as it has been written. It's not a figment of anybody's imagination, nor am I shifting anybody's goalpost. Ishkaran Bhandari and then Nilufar. Sanjay ji, let me just go to the other two panelists and I'll
make a small point, Anand, before you move on.
No,
I need to make a very small point.
Sir, let me please.
Very small point. Just 1 second. Not 10, you not even 10.
Humbly request Sardar RP Singh and Sanjay Jha to please yield. I will also stop. Sanjay Jha,
just
sorry,
1 second.
No,
1
sir,
second.
please. Sir, please. I am not allowing Sanjay Jha ji also. Please hold your thoughts. Ishkaran Bhandari and then Nilufar Masood.
Anand, firstly, I would start with this term founding fathers. We blindly ape US, which was settling untamed West. We are an ancient civilization. We had people who led the freedom movement. We had people who contributed to the freedom movement. But the founding fathers term, I think we should be a little bit more careful than just blindly aping Western terms. But anyways, coming to the subject at hand of changing of constitution. 100 चूहे खा के बिल्ली हज को चली. A Congress government which used to change constitution so frequently and so regularly that the Supreme Court had to evolve a basic structure doctrine that you cannot amend constitution beyond this point. The need came because they were using the constitution as basically a private journal. You can add 35A without introducing it into the floor of the house. You can change whatever you want by creating a 9th schedule. You can remove words from the constitution, amend it because you have super majorities. They were using constitution as a private journal. We are the first country which in a sense effectively evolved the basic structure doctrine to protect the constitution from Congress. That's a fact of history. Now let's come to the other aspect. They are the people who destroyed institutions to this manner with supersession of judges, with appointing anybody they wanted to as a judge, qualified or not, at a time that the judiciary had to evolve a collegium system to stop the ill effects of the institutional capture of judiciary. Please understand how the collegium came about at that time, which we discuss very frequently now. This was the Congress's documented factual history for the reason that these sort of things came into being. Now when we talk about change of constitution, you have already, it's a misnomer. What does the term even mean? Of course the constitution has to be amended. It has been amended 106 times. Is it a good amendment? Is it a bad amendment? That has to be discussed. Merely saying constitution ko amend kar rahe hain, that is fear mongering which has no substance to it. But of course it was effective. That's for the political party to decide. Why BJP's communication on that
that's
issue
exactly
failed,
why I asked who amended and who altered.
they expected. But on, yes, but I'll just finish, Anand, by saying this much. After you have amended constitution time in, time out, after you treated democracy, when the first communist government got elected in Kerala, you removed it by using your imposing president's rules, Article 356. So please don't preach about constitution when you have a very, very sorry history on how it is amended, and including, because we're talking about the great Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he specifically opposed the insertion of the word social and secular to the constitution. I think Mr. K.T. Shah or somebody raised it as an amendment and he specifically rejected it. It is only during the emergency, when to satisfy certain vote banks, these words were inserted, because Dr. Ambedkar's view was very clear that I will not tell future governments how the economy should function. That is for the elected leaders who have been elected at that time to decide that. So let us be very clear, who has amended the constitution, who has damaged the constitution, for whom the basic structure came to protect the constitution, against whom the collegium system came to protect the judiciary, and then deal with the facts as they are.
Sir, the word socialist, as many would argue, also limits, like you just said, what economic policy we as a nation need to follow given the change in times and given our evolution in the course as a growing nation. So you have actually altered the DNA of the nation by inserting these two words which are not core to its DNA. That's why the altering happened. And those people, those parties who actually ratified this kind of an alteration are today coming out and crying bogey at somebody else. That's the other question. Nilofar Masood, namaste and thank you for your time and your patience, ma'am. Your thoughts here. This whole thing about changing constitution.
Anand, I think we are the worst sufferers of tampering of the constitution. We, as a J&K, used to be a state. You know it that we are now UT. So we are the worst sufferers and the live example before the whole world, not only India. Now you're talking about the altering, who altered. One wrong cannot justify the another wrong. If somebody has done wrong in past, that never gives a license to anybody to do the same thing in some other way. That is to be checked somewhere. So we cannot justify that Congress has done this thing, so that is why we are doing it. And if they have done it, so nobody can question it. First, we need to check it out. You know that Constitution, it is just not a book which gives us the introduction about the laws, rights and duties. It's in fact a visionary document which was given by the independent leaders of the then India, and we need to respect it anyway. And to upkeep the dignity of the constitution, it has laid down so many provisions, and those provisions are to be respected. If we want to defeat somebody's right, laws, then it can be defeated by the very provisions of the constitution only. That is to be seen.
So you
we
agree,
cannot say that.
So you agree that the constitution was a well thought out doctrine that on how a nation state should actually function?
Yes, it should function. That is why it was made, and
Correct.
it gives us
So then,
the
why
guidelines
did
how
Jammu and
we
Kashmir and Sheikh
see-
Abdullah refuse to follow the Indian constitution and
See,
insist on their own
no, it's not
constitution
a
and a
question
separate
of refusal.
constitution and
You
insist
were-
on
it's
two
fine.
constitutions in the same country, Nilofer Masood ji?
Anand, you have asked me a question. Let me answer
Ji.
it. We were the princely state, and when we decided that we should integrate with the India, then we made one document, and in that document certain rights limitations were given. And it was only because of those certain rights and limitation 370 came, 35A came.
No, ma'am.
We already told.
Again, ma'am, please don't revise history, ma'am.
Course.
Because the accession document, the
They have
signing
to
of
be
accession
independent.
document
India
signed
already
by
had
all
it.
the riyasats, all the princely
But
states
by
was the
way of
same, ma'am.
Article 35A,
No, was the same, ma'am. They never had a 35A, nor did they have a separate constitution. And 35A was not even mentioned in the actual constitution. Even the abridged one, which was peddled
What
by the
actually is 35A?
Congress party post
This is the
1977.
hereditary law which
Ma'am,
was passed
the
by
Supreme
Maharaja.
Court, former Supreme Court Chief Justice is on record in 2010 that when he perused the constitution that was available for him in the Supreme Court of India, there was no 35A. So they said, where is 35A? That's when they went back to the archives and then they realized, oh my God, it's part of the appendix. And it's there as the this one.
Anand, you cannot justify those things what have been said. I don't want to go into that.
No,
argument.
that is what
And
that
Honorable
you just now
Supreme
said
Court
that
has- I don't want to
that
go
Bharat's
that
constitution was
argument.
a well
But
thought out
the
doctrine and it
1570
should be
was given by
respected.
our own
But then
parliamentary
Sheikh
members.
Abdullah and the
And
National Conference
Prime
refused to
Minister-
respect it. They said they
Yes,
insisted because they were the only
integrated
riyasat
India,
and the
we
only
had
state
to-
that were
idea of
accorded that
India,
they
we
will be
had a
part
right
of
to
India,
ask
but they will have a
that
separate
when we
constitution.
protect our
How is that
rights,
fair?
This is how our rights were protected.
How was that?
You cannot
How
do
was
that
their
with
rights
respect
protected,
to
Nilofer
Constitution.
Masood?
You
If you
cannot
had
say we
chosen to
were
marry,
given this right,
if you
whether
had chosen
any
to marry
law
a
is
person
passed by
before
the center,
2014, ma'am,
whether that
if you had
should
chosen to
implement in
marry
our state or
before
not,
the
according
Supreme
to
Court
our own
overturned
constitution.
certain provisions of
According to
35A,
our own
Muslim
constitution,
women in
this
or
was
any
Mr.
Kashmiri
Doctor.
woman,
That is
any
why these
Kashmiri
rights were
woman
given
marrying
to the
outside
people.
Kashmir would have lost her right to inheritance. Any Kashmiri woman marrying outside of Kashmir would have not, even her children would have not got the right to inheritance. How was that fair to Kashmiri women for
But you
50%
cannot
of Kashmir's
juggle
population?
words and
Was
say
that not a
you
direct
should
assault on your right to
you
choose
should
and your right to
be the
freedom and your
legislative
basic right to
assembly and
liberty?
legislative assemblies
Was that not
consent
against the
presumed to
very
be the
basic
consent of the
principles
power?
of the fundamental
This is
rights of
how you have-
a citizen of
this
Bharat?
is how you insulted the constitution itself.
So who
The
insulted the
provisions of
constitution and who didn't, ma'am? You please tell me. You've walked into your own trap, ma'am. You've walked into your own set of narratives and you've walked around it. You just said that the Indian constitution was a fantastic document. Then why did Sheikh Abdullah reject it? Why did you insist on a constitution where that denied Muslim women their basic right to freedom and liberty? Why did you try to create a separate state within a nation state? Sardar RP Singh, Sardar RP. No,
so allowing me to speak.
Please,
You are
please.
arguing-
You please
No,
tell
you
me.
are-
You please tell me. You please tell me, ma'am, when 370 and that doctrine,
How?
it was not
Anand,
ratified.
Just tell me
Ji.
this, who has given us the 370? Who has given us? Who enacted this?
Jawaharlal Nehru decided it with the along with Gopal Swami Iyengar
Pandit
drafted
Jawaharlal
370
Nehru, he was the prime
and it
minister
was
of India.
it was a
He was
closed door
prime minister
arrangement
of
between
India,
him and
not
Sheikh
in
Abdullah.
individual.
That was the
Not
only
in a
condition.
of individual.
And
he gave us this right.
Sir,
Who-
see, I'll tell you, ma'am, I can only go back to what has already been chronicled by various authors. I cannot create something from the
Somebody
figment of
has
my own
hate against
imagination.
one person
The
that
nation's
cannot
home
be said
minister
that we
who
have
integrated
relations
all of
with one
Bharat
person,
was
and
kept
that's why he did
outside
it.
of the discussions
He
of
did it.
Jammu and Kashmir by the Prime Minister of the country himself. This is also a matter of record. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was
We
not
are the
involved in the
worst of us.
discussions.
You should
He was
be
Sardar
angry
Vallabhbhai
with
Patel along with
everybody.
Bhimrao Ramji
Every
Ambedkar
parliamentarian
were against
agreed
370,
that
were
Jammu
against
Kashmir
having a
has been
separate
the
constitution.
first
They were
casualty
insistent
of
on Ek Desh, Ek Vidhan, Ek
That's the
Samvidhan.
worst casualty of
No, ma'am.
misusing the constitution.
The biggest, yes.
Agreed. And today every parliamentarian is admitting
So
it.
a
And
historic
it's
wrong
very
was corrected
right.
after
At that
75
time,
years,
MPs Mahua
whereas
Moitra
35A and
this
also
would not have
370
happened.
both were
This would
supposed to
have
be
never
temporary
happened.
provisions,
We have
ma'am.
seen the raw- we have
Both were
seen the raw
supposed to be
authoritarianism of the
temporary
socialists
provisions.
in 2023
Have you ever seen
also.
something which is temporary for 75 years? These are all
was
questions
never
you have to
temporary.
ask, ma'am.
The
So
authorities
who
were
amended
there.
the constitution
Why it was
in the
temporary,
interest of
you
Bharat
better know.
and who
Because
amended
referendum was also
who
going to be
altered the
held.
constitution
This
and
is
it changed its very DNA for furthering their own political interests
things are
and
to
for
be
their
left-
vested interests is a
left to be
question
done
people have
by
to
the
ask, ma'am.
Legislative Assembly. That
Yeah,
has never been done.
Sardar
That's
RP
never
Singh,
been
final
done.
word. Sardar RP Singh.
Well, when the amendment was made in the Parliament, it was said as a temporary and transitional. I mean, it was never said it is permanent, and it was said it is matter of time. It will go, and it has to go.
Sir, it was a president.
But
Okay.
When it was
Presidential note, which did not have parliamentary sanction.
Then
Yeah.
it is a matter of time. Nobody said
Presidential note which did not
yeah,
have parliamentary
sorry,
sanction.
it.
Yeah.
You who is saying
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It is you who is saying it.
Yeah. So it was, but it was temporary and transitional one. But and also, but
Why was it temporary?
this was
Do
the
you know
flag
why
of
it
the
was temporary?
Jammu Kashmir.
Because one
Why a state should have a separate flag?
It had dissolved.
Why a
I
state should have a
respect
separate
the
flag? Let us know
Yes,
that
yes,
also.
respect the
Sir,
flag.
in our country,
Ma'am,
the flag code allows
You
every
can-
state to
you
have its
can't
own
have two
flag,
flags
but
in-
it cannot fly above the tricolor. It has to fly subservient or below the tricolor. That's also
Yes,
mandate. Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, who has certain
No, but
privileges
not
with
not
respect
even
to- Why giving-
not
why
not
taking
even
the note of
at
the
par
Article
with the tricolor.
371?
Right. No, it is not at par.
371,
It's not at par. It's not at par. We're digressing, but the whole issue about the Samvidhan and this entire bogie, those who claim that samne wala Samvidhan badal dega, don't also color themselves in glory, ladies and gentlemen. 106 times our constitution has been amended, altered,
Can I make a
changed.
small point, Anand, please?
Altered, changed. Has it been, how many times has it been done in the larger interest of Bharat, and how many times it's been done to further personal or perhaps group political interests and vested interests? This is something that all of us need to understand, and where this entire silsila began. It's a longer conversation. For now that I have to wind up for the moment. I thank all our guests. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we turn the spotlight towards yet another aspect. Sunday marked the anniversary of the Kanishk bombings. And on the streets of Canada, Canadians turned back and rejected this entire K propaganda. While they are K goons and terrorists are being hailed and eulogized in the House of Commons, among the common people of Canada, it's being rejected. We get you the proof, and we discuss this when we come back. Stay with us.
In fact, just a while ago, CNN News 18 spoke with Congress MP K. Suresh, who said, who talked about the consecutive and non-consecutive terms being discussed and given as the reason for not appointing K. Suresh as the pro tem speaker. He said that these are ridiculous statements and in fact excuses being made by the government for not appointing him as the pro tem speaker.
Yes, and as I said, I mean, we've been saying this. I mean, the start, of course, is very ominous. I mean, it just goes on to give an indication about the kind of confrontation the opposition party is in a mood for, despite the fact that this is a very short session. And what is going to happen in this session essentially is the first 2 days are dedicated to the oath-taking ceremony, because then only they are deemed to be a member of parliament. After that will be the presidential speech, where she's going to address a joint session. And then, of course, the Prime Minister is going to be responding to the presidential speech on the 3rd of July, and as well as the other members will. That again will be another point of confrontation, because the presidential speech essentially is a kind of a stock taking or an outline of what the government plans and what it has been doing. So I don't think the opposition is going to be in the mood to give any credit to the government, making the point that right from the beginning, whether it's been the railway accident or whether it's been the NEET fiasco, all of that shows that this is a weak government, it's a weakened government, and the continuity of the ministers is actually not a positive sign. It just goes on to show that the Prime Minister doesn't care. He doesn't.
Back on the Federal Bank, CNN News 18 Primetime Studios here on the right stand. Ladies and gentlemen, this entire case sympathy is really matters coming to a head, and the common people rejecting what the House of Commons did in Canada. Common people of Canada rejecting it. We told you just a few days ago how the Canadian House of Commons honoured pro-Khalistan designated terrorists by Bharat Hardeep Singh Nijjar, wanted on a red corner notice since about 2017. And they honoured him with a moment of silence on the occasion of his of 1 year of his death. This was and then on 23rd of June, the Indian High Commission, the Indian Embassy in Canada, paid homage to victims of the Kanishk bombing, slamming Trudeau government for glorifying terrorism. But 39 years since one of the deadliest terror attacks in which 329 passengers lost their lives, the victims still await justice, a lot of them in Canada. Whereas those who were clearly involved in the bombings roamed free in Canada. The Trudeau government failing to crack down on these separatists behind the attack, secessionists, and even after 39 years, all that Canada Police is saying is we are investigating, the efforts remain active and are ongoing, 39 years later. Trudeau government support to these Khalistani elements and these K elements, these K goons, families of the Kanimozhi bombing victims turned away members of this pro-Khalistan 6 for Justice outfit during that prayer meeting. They asked them to walk away, get away. They pushed them out. During the prayer meeting, Canadian Sikhs asked the Sikh for Justice and other Khalistani, pro-Khalistani members, pro-secessionist members, categorically stating that no Sikh wanted a separate nation of Khalistan, and they also expressed disappointment that no representative of the Canadian government was there present to mark the anniversary of the tragedy. Reflects a lot on what the Canadian polity has now come down to, ladies and gentlemen. Indians in Canada also wrote to Justin Trudeau over Parliament honour to Nijjar and slammed the glorification of the extremism. And Canadian citizens who are plying their wares in Canada thoroughly disappointed. There is one of the letters by Radio Club, Radio India Managing Director Maninder Gill, and I have a copy of this where he's very clearly said that Nijjar, by Canadian newspapers, Canadian papers have themselves called him a somebody who believed, who had given a call to arms. They said that he was steeped in extremism. He has been seen wielding an AK-47 in one of his visits to Pakistan and also on Canadian soil. He arrived in Canada on a fake passport, and he's saying that after honoring a Nazi, an individual like him, a terrorist, a wanted man like him, was being honored by the by the Canadian House of Commons. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go across to our guests and ask them this question. Is Canada openly whitewashing terror and terror sympathizers? Openly whitewashing Break India, anti-India elements? Joining us now, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra. We also have Ramneek Singh Maan joining us, and Sardar R.P. Singh stays on with us. Ramneek Maan, how would you see the response? Aap sabko namaste, Jai Hind. How would you see the Canadian citizens' response where they have turned away these SFJ members, but these elements get a free run in Canada?
Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, Jai Hind to all.
Sat Shri Akal ji.
Well, this is a first because there has always been a silent majority which has been suppressed by the vocal minority. And these Khalistani elements in the UK, in USA and in Canada have been very proactive. As a matter of fact, the hotbed has been Canada. And I've said it over and over again that Canada is steadfast. It's on its way of literally becoming the Pakistan of the West. So this is something which is which should be seen as a positive sign, a first, that people, the common citizen would walk up and confront these people. The fact of the matter is that Hardeep Nijjar has been a designated terrorist. He's booked under UAPA in India. And that has been thoroughly informed to the Canadian government and the Canadian authorities, and they knew that this person had travelled to Canada on a fake passport. He reached Canada on the papers being addressed as Ravi Sharma. So Hardeep Singh Nijjar essentially is Hardeep Sharma when he lands in Canada, and this was investigated and his passport was found fake by the Canadian authorities. It took them 4 years, and I must also add, when Hardeep Nijjar joined hands with Jagtar Singh Tara of Babar Khalsa International, that is when he got his Canadian citizenship. And he tried to get Tara out of Thailand, and that's when the Indian authorities arrested him in 2015. I'm talking about Tara.
Yeah.
In Thailand, in Pattaya. So his association, his links with the Khalistanis are well known. He had gone to Pakistan with the help of the ISI, and that's when he was sent from Pakistan to Thailand to try and get Tara out of there. So Jagtar Singh Tara is the same person who's involved in the killing of Bayant Singh, and he's now incarcerated. He's in the prison for killing a sitting chief minister. So these people are being addressed, surprisingly, as honorable citizens. They're being told that, you know, he was a religious leader. He was not a religious leader. He is a terrorist element, a designated terrorist by India, who has pictures yielding AK-47 in Pakistan, the Pakistan ISI. The CSIS knows everything about it. And a few days before he was killed, his son has claimed that my father was in constant touch with CSIS.
Right.
And officers and representatives of the CSIS, that is the Canadian Secret Service, were in touch with my father.
So if
an ordinary plumber, what is the CSIS doing dealing with an ordinary plumber?
So the Canadian intelligence,
and that's why I say that.
Yeah, so you've actually pulled out the entire story there beautifully, Ramnik Man, that the CSIS, that the Canadian State Intelligence Services is involved in protecting Nijjar and other elements. Canada is also part of the Five Eyes, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra. So is there a greater game at play? Are those who are trying to foster never before equations and relationships with Bharat also using their allies within the Five Eyes to foster secessionist elements to keep India in turmoil?
Well, India in turmoil or India under pressure, that's really the question that we should be thinking about and talking about on a constant basis. But let me go to another coincidence. 1980s was a time when Pakistan was actively sponsoring terror in India. 1984, decades back, was the time when Kanishk happened. And who was the Prime Minister of Canada? Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau.
Pierre Trudeau.
Is there a connection? Is there a connection between the Trudeau family and Pakistan and its ISI? And that is why they maintained a constant line all through these 40 plus years. That is worrying, because Pierre Trudeau, the father, could have prevented Kanishk happening and loss of 300 plus lives, because there was enough warning. And now, as you said very rightly, and Mr. Maan elaborated, for 39 years they are saying that we are continuing to investigate this, but as far as Nijjar is concerned, they have wiped out all the blogs that he had on his record and now found 4 young boys as the persons who were responsible for killing him. But they have not given even a spot of evidence to the public at large or to Canadians themselves that this was not a gangland killing, but a killing sponsored by someone outside Canada. So obviously there is reason to believe that Canada is hiding more than it is revealing.
Right.
The other thing which is very worrying is that if Pakistan is the state sponsor of terror, then Justin Trudeau, has gone many steps ahead.
Yes.
Here, the state of Canada and the people of Canada are absolutely against what is happening in Canada vis-a-vis India. But Trudeau has become not only the sponsor of terror, but also a protector of terrorists. So the worrying thing is, what should we do about a man who is sheltering terror within his government and actively supporting them for his narrow political purposes?
Right. No, but the fact is, Sardar RP Singh, Bharat has not done much about putting these people back in no-fly list, about trying to renew and issue fresh red corner notices against them. If there were 300 or known or estimated or expected to be sympathizer pro-Khalistanis or active Khalistanis who were taken off the blacklist a few years ago, only 20 to 25 of them have behaved. The rest of them should be put back on that list, or vice versa, whatever the truth. Those who have not been able to really change their demeanor, they should be put back on that no-fly list and become unwelcome in Bharat. Why are these kind of hard actions not taken? And are we not wise to what the Five Eyes are doing, and who controls the Five Eyes? Everybody knows.
Well, Anand, I 100% go by you that the Government of India should initiate the red corner notice against all those who are doing anti-India activity and then are part of this caucus which is trying to spread this Khalistan agenda in US, UK, Canada, Germany, Australia. But that one point, let's understand. We spoke about Nijjar. There's a gentleman named Ripudaman Singh Malik, who was also killed. He was also part of the bombing part, the Kanishka bombing. He later on he came back. He came back to came back to India also and apologized that yes, it was wrong. He did. He was pardoned by the court as Nijjar was.
Right.
But no one has ever spoken about Ripudaman Singh Malik. Who killed him? Why was he killed? Who were the people who killed him? And then never even Canadian government has initiated anything. I mean, anything which should investigate the killing of Ripudaman Singh Malik. This recent incident, the key to the complete thing lies with killing of the Ripudaman Singh Malik. The Ripudaman Singh Malik, as per my information knowledge, goes that he was killed by the Nijjar gang or by the other part of the team which bombed Kanishka, because Ripudaman Singh Malik changed heart. He came to India, he went to Darbar Sahib, and since he went back and he was killed. And it was in a retaliation that Nijjar was killed by the people who were close to, I'm not naming, I mean, it can be family member, it can be other associates who were close to Ripudaman Singh Malik. One, this is another dimension to your complete story. Other part is that Trudeau can't do without it. I mean, he is dependent on Khalistanis. His government can't, his government is a minor government, he's a minority government. And to safeguard his interests, his political interests, he can go to any extent.
Right.
And then he is doing this, he's doing the same as any politician would do, but at the cost of keeping snakes at their backyard.
No, but what I am saying is, what is the political cost for Canada for doing this? What is the political deterrent? Clearly, Canada cannot do this on its own. There are the likes of the United States of America backing it. Five Eyes most powerful nation is the United States of America. On the one hand, US is saying, oh, India is our biggest partner in this region. On the other hand, it is backing Canadian claims which are based on backing a terrorist. So this entire thing about standing up to terrorists, there is no good terrorist and bad terrorists, all of them, this is hogwash. Or do those rules apply only to us? Look at the hue and cry they made about an alleged attack on Gurpatwant Pannun. A good for nothing, no gooder.
I was coming to that.
And an entire US state is backing him. What are we doing as a nation, sir? What are we doing to safeguard our interests? What are we doing to ensure that these elements don't sit there and plant trouble in Punjab?
Well, people they can't do anything in Punjab. Let's be very assured about this, that they can only create noise outside, and they're trying to divide the community outside, and they're trying to create a rift between the Hindu and Sikhs in other countries, not here. And there also they have failed miserably. Even Sikhs are not with them. But yes, Pannu, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu and likes of Gurpatwant Singh Pannu are being used as assets for strategic assets by America or by Canada for their other objectives.
So my humble submission is, should anybody be forced to bow down to Bhindranwale inside a Gurdwara? It's happening in Southall, it's happening in Surrey, it's happening in Fremont, it's happening in multiple Gurdwaras across the world, it's happening in Australia. How is it possible that outside of the 10 gurus you can be forced to bend to anybody else? How can guns and all be kept inside the Gurdwara and you be forced to bow to them and pray to them and say that no, they are going to be our ideals? How can money be collected on the names of these people, these kind of elements, and that be justified? And the Akal Takht, the Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, nobody, the custodians of Sikhi have got no problems with it. This is something which all of us need to reflect upon. I have to cut this short a bit because we got news coming through. We've got news coming through about the Latur police. I'm just reading this about the Latur police as we got to take a very short break. The Latur police in the NEET issue are going to make yet another arrest. They have detained another teacher in Latur after Jalil Pathan. The second one is Sanjay Jadhav, who's been now detained and he could be arrested soon. So crackdown on NEET is also being expedited at multiple levels. It's reached Latur in Maharashtra too. See you after the break.
Won't pay accountable because their track record wasn't too great in their earlier term. So from day one itself, the muscle flexing has begun, and the BJP also understands this, which is why they are going to keep on making the point which the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has made, that we are doing everything to reach out to the opposition. We are following the norms. You can keep on calling us names, but just as we are responsible for maintaining the order, equally the opposition has to give us the chance. At around 10 a.m. when the Prime Minister is going to be speaking in that mandatory media soundbite at the beginning of every session, you're surely going to hear him saying that in their democracy, every voice needs to be heard. We are ready to debate and discuss every issue, and therefore I would request all the MPs to actually cooperate and put their point of view, even if they are divergent ones and contradictory to that of the government. But I don't think the Prime Minister's words are going to be working much. It's going to fall on deaf ears, because the India bloc has decided that this is our time to take on the BJP.
Right. Pallavi, please stay with us. We're also being joined by CNN News 18's Sherin Elizabeth. Sherin, just a while ago, you spoke with Congress MP K. Suresh on the whole pro tem Speaker Rao, in which he made a very crucial statement. He said that the criteria of consecutive terms and non-consecutive terms has never been considered in the past.
Back on with some happy tidings, ladies and gentlemen. Neeta Mukesh Ambani, founder and chairperson of the Reliance Foundation, visited Kashi Vishwanath Temple to present the wedding invitation of her son Anant Ambani. Anant Ambani, the younger son of Mukesh and Neeta Ambani, will be tying the knot with Radhika Merchant, daughter of Viren Merchant and Shaila Merchant, on the 12th of July in Mumbai. We leave you with these pictures. Thank you for watching. We wind up this edition of The Right Stand. Brass Tacks follows here on the CNN News 18 Federal Bank Primetime Studios after a break. Stay with us.
क्या हुआ?
Well, absolutely, and he in fact says this defense that is coming in from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister is ridiculous, is what the statement is coming in from Kodikunil Suresh. He says that it's a democratic country, and it's sometimes it's possible for some MP to have the consecutive term for more than 5 or 6 terms, but there are also times when there could in fact be times when they are not able to win the election. And similarly, in Kodikunil Suresh case, he was not able to win in 1998 as well as in 2004, but by convention he says he is the 8th time member of parliament, and by convention he should be the pro tem speaker. And there was not a single, he, while speaking to CNN News 18, saying that ever since 2014, whatever convention has been, all those conventions have been broken by the BJP government, is the big claim that is coming in. Not just for the pro tem speaker, even for the deputy speaker, because as per Congress party during the UPA 1 and UPA 2, the speaker post used to go to the allies of the Congress party, allies of UPAs. When it comes to the deputy speaker, it used to go to the opposition. We have seen it has went to the BJP as well. At that point of time, the BJP was sitting in opposition, but when it comes to the deputy speaker, there as well the convention will not be followed, and that is the
Rahul Gandhi vacates the seat he won for a second consecutive time, and his sister steps in. There is a question of what has Priyanka Gandhi done to merit this ticket as a bipole after her brother has won from Wayanad. It's not like she has proven her electoral mettle.
Is America playing a very dangerous game with Bharat, where it bats with Bharat against the PLA vis-a-vis Tibet and Taiwan is concerned, but it uses Canada to once again bat and try and finger India?
Can the BJP absolve itself by insinuating that the other side, for the lack of a better word, is involved or is complicit in leaking the NEET exam? There must be somebody who gives out that paper, isn't it?
Why are we letting the Americans fire off our shoulders? This is basically an American congressional delegation coming here to India and making a geopolitical statement against China at a time when India has its own plate full when it comes to its own troubles with China.
On which the Congress party is planning to corner the BJP government. They have been saying that all this convention, all the traditions that are being followed in Parliament has in fact been destroyed by the BJP.
Welcome back. So the first parliamentary session of the 18th Lok Sabha is all set to begin today. But even before that, politics is going on over the appointment of pro-tem speaker. Now, the opposition is saying that K. Suresh, who is a Congress MP, is an 8-time MP, but still he wasn't appointed as the pro-tem speaker. And we have some more inputs coming in on this now. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has posted on social media platform X. He has said that he had the privilege of meeting Shri Bhartrihari Mehtab before his swearing-in ceremony as the pro-tem speaker of the Lok Sabha, along with Arjun Ram Meghwal. These are the pictures that Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has posted while meeting pro-tem speaker Bhartrihari Mehtab. Our senior editor Pallavi Ghosh continues to stay with us. Pallavi, the politics over pro-tem speaker does not seem to stop. In fact, just a while ago, CNN News 18 spoke with Congress MP K. Suresh, who talked about the consecutive and non-consecutive terms being discussed and given as the reason for not appointing K. Suresh as the pro-tem speaker. He said that these are ridiculous statements and in fact excuses being made by the government for not appointing him as the pro-tem speaker.
Yes, and as I said, I mean, we've been saying this. I mean, the start, of course, is very ominous. I mean, it just goes.
The CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio.
Good evening. You're watching Brass Tacks with me, Poonam Burde, and we're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Federal Bank Primetime Studio. On the first day of the 18th Lok Sabha, the constitution debate has resurfaced. While opposition members of parliament protested against the centre with copies of constitution in their hand, Prime Minister Modi attacked the Congress over emergency. As Rahul Gandhi waved the constitution as the Prime Minister was taking oath, BJP took cue from the Prime Minister, reminding the grand old party and its allies of what a blot on Indian democracy emergency days were. Tomorrow, in fact, is the anniversary of that. The inaugural day today was marred by controversies over the pro-tem speaker, then the NEET examination and the mess around it, and the education ministry that is embroiled in it. Those chants were also heard when Dharmendra Pradhan, the education minister, was taking oath. The tone has been set by the opposition of what future days in parliament would look like. But who is really saving and upholding the constitution? Can the Congress-led India bloc play the defender of the Samvidhan? We open that up in just a bit.
कल 25 जून को भारत के लोकतंत्र में जो काला धब्बा लगा था, भारत की नई पीढ़ी इस बात को कभी नहीं भूलेगी कि भारत के संविधान को पूरी तरह नकार दिया गया था।
जो आक्रमण प्रधानमंत्री जी अमित शाह जी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर संविधान पे कर रहे हैं, वो हमारे लिए एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है, वो हम होने नहीं देंगे।
We are opposing BJP's efforts to destroy the constitution.
मुझे लगता है कि अपोजिशन को दूसरा कोई विषय नहीं है। संविधान के बारे में सबको आदर है, संविधान की रक्षा होना आवश्यक है और इसीलिए मुझे लगता है कि बार बार संविधान का विषय निकाल कर अपोजिशन ब्लैकमेल करने का काम कर रहा है।
Joining me on this edition, Tuhin Sinha, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Mohan Kumar Mangalam, Spokesperson of the Congress, Riju Datta, Spokesperson of the TMC, and Senior Journalist Tushar Gupta join us. Let me begin by asking the Spokesperson of the BJP. Tuhin Sinha, the opposition today, a united one at that, says the Constitution is in danger. From day one, we are going to set the tone because we are the flag bearers of the Constitution, and upholding it is what Rahul Gandhi, the Congress, and everybody else in the India bloc says.
Well, good evening, Poonam. Good evening, everybody. You know, when the Congress MPs, they flashed the Constitution book today, ideally, they should have done it as a sign of repentance for the sinful act 50 years ago of imposition of emergency. But rather, they seem to be hallucinating an emergency-like situation which does not exist. So there's certainly, something does not seem to be right with the temperament of this opposition party. When they were in power, they imposed the emergency. When they are out of power, they keep trying to tamper with the spirit of the Constitution by spreading lies about the Constitution, by doctoring videos which try to spread this falsehood that the Constitution is being tampered, whereas the truth is that we have done nothing to tamper the Constitution. Today, I am challenging the Congress party. If they have any honesty in their intent, tomorrow morning, let Rahul Gandhi and Kharge ji come and apologize specifically for the 42nd amendment, constitutional amendment done in 1976-77. Now, the Congress will tell you that the constitutional amendment, 42nd constitutional amendment, was merely about the addition of two words, secularism and socialism. No, it was not. It tampered with the basic spirit of the Constitution because it gave overriding powers to the Parliament at the cost of the judiciary. The judiciary could not even examine the laws passed by the Parliament, on its for its constitutional validity. So I think the Congress party should reflect. They should apologize rather than imagine situations which don't exist in the contemporary world.
Mohan Kumar Mangalam, it's all a bogey that the Congress-led opposition is trying to mislead the country with. That's the allegation the BJP makes. The emergency attack is one that the BJP has made against you multiple times in the past.
We ran our entire campaign. And frankly, when we started talking about this at the beginning of the campaign and much before that, when we said that democracy is under threat, a lot of people laughed at us saying that this won't have any takers. But the results are there for all to see. This was the major thrust of our campaign, is that we're out here together as a group and we're united to protect democracy. And it's not only us. Every global institute has said that India, in terms of its rankings in democracy, has continued to fall. The VDEM Institute calls us an electoral autocracy. So what is Mr. Tuhin Sinha talking about? Is he not aware of what the world is saying about how our democratic freedoms are being curbed every day, about how we have an extremely pliable media, about how we have an election commission that basically has just become a shadow of the ruling party? I mean, you could go on and on about this, but this is not just us saying it. The world is talking about it today. When Mr. Modi makes blatantly communal speeches during the election and doesn't get anything, not even a slap on the wrist, when we send notice after notice and get no response during the election, when Mr. Modi takes it upon himself to lock up elected chief ministers and to freeze bank accounts of the opposition going into an election, would you call this a democracy? And this is why the rest of the world also agrees that we're an electoral autocracy for all practical purposes. Now, as far as what Mr. Modi said, I think if anyone had any doubts about whether this would be more of the same, as in the sense that will this government continue to operate like last time, Mr. Modi has said there